Alright, well, it looks like we're live. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to the severe weather coverage live stream for November 20th of 2023. We're going to be going over the enhanced risk that is currently in place for the Mississippi River Valley, including the threats of multiple tornadoes, some of which could be strong to violent, and the threat for damaging winds and hail with that as well. So currently, it does look like we have a unwarned tornado that is currently on the ground. We have a debris signature indicated by our correlation coefficient, and we also have that strong rotation again with that debris signature. And then it does look like we may have a little bit of a debris ball in the atmosphere. So this may be an unwarned tornado that may be ongoing, and I'm hoping they issue a warning for it here in a second. But it doesn't look like they're. Hopefully they will. They haven't yet, but it does look like there is probably a tornado on the ground at this time, indicated by our correlation coefficient and our possible debris ball and our rotation. Um, but then let's scroll out a little bit. Let's see what's going on. So we have a tornado watch, and overall there's not really a lot of rotation that is all that extremely prominent. There's a little bit of rotation here and there. It might strengthen over time, but overall there's not really anything too crazy. But there is some rotation that does look like there might be a tornado on the ground, as I mentioned previously. So we just gotta give it a little bit of time. Hopefully they'll issue a warning for that here in a second. And I'm gonna keep that pulled up while I work on some things just really quickly. I gotta do something extremely quickly. Should only take a couple minutes. I'm not gonna direct your attention anywhere, but I will keep the radar up so you guys can watch what's happening, and I'll also look at what's happening as well. But I have to do something real quick. But yeah, just give me a couple minutes. I'm working on something real quick. Yeah, okay. So as far as the debris signature, correlation coefficient has gone down a little bit. There's still, it does look like there's a lot of contamination in this area. This may be a small little debris signature, but it's honestly quite hard to tell. But you definitely can see our rotation quite prominently, as well as what might be a debris ball, but it's fairly uncertain of if it really is or not. And I'm surprised that they didn't tornado warn this actually. This went completely unwarned. Oh, okay, we actually have another we just got a tornado warning now for the cities of Calvin, Dodson, and Sykes. Hold on, let me switch radar sites to. Never mind. I guess we're already at the. Wait, are we? I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. All right, I think this one might be a little bit better. So you can see that for the towns of Calvin, Dodson, and Sykes, you can see very prominent rotation there. Very strong signature of a tornado. No indication of it on the ground yet. Not really sure what this is. I don't really know how to read spectrum width, but I do know that it kind of helps with debris a little bit. But overall, fairly good signature of a developing tornado. Um, Very good rotation. Nothing on correlation coefficient yet. However, this could drop at any time. So if you do live in Calvin or Dodson or Sykes, definitely make sure you are taking the necessary precautions and staying safe with this, as a very prominent indicator of a tornado in development, even if it's not on the ground yet. Again, it could drop at any time, so you definitely want to be watching out for that if you live in any of the affected areas. And I don't think we have any other tornado warnings as of right now. No, it doesn't look like it. This is the only tornado warning. It's kind of a mess, to be honest. I might turn off the SPC outlook just to kind of clear some things up a little bit. But yeah, you can see how messy it looks. Hold on, let's do this actually. Let's lower the reflectivity gate just a little bit, so we can so we can just kind of clear up some of the clutter. There, I think that's good. Yeah, that clears up a lot of the clutter. But yeah, okay. So again, a very good indicator that a tornado is on the ground right now. Or sorry, there's not a tornado on the ground right now. There's no indicator that the tornado is on the ground, but there's a very good indicator that a tornado is in development. Uh, you can see by correlation coefficient. There's nothing on the ground right now, but very strong and prominent rotation, as well as a very clear hook echo there. And this would probably be a fairly rain-wrapped tornado if it were to touch down. So again, if you do live in the cities of Dodson or Sykes, I think it's going to pass to the north of Calvin. I don't really think Calvin's going to be in too much danger of this thing. But if you do live in Dodson or Sykes, very prominent signature of a tornado that may be developing. Even if it's not on the ground right now, it could drop at any time, so you definitely want to be staying aware of that. Alright, so I'm gonna go back to what I was doing earlier, but I'm gonna try to be pretty quick about it. I don't want to take too long on doing this, because I gotta do what I gotta do and cover the weather. So give me a couple minutes. I'm gonna keep the live stream open like I usually do, and just yeah, set it up and stuff. But yeah, there's still no indication that the tornado is currently on the ground. Mostly indicated by correlation coefficient. If you don't know what correlation coefficient is, it's basically how well everything in the atmosphere being picked up by the radar correlates to one another in size. So if you have a bunch of debris in the air, like if you have sheet metal and like screws and things flying around in the air, being picked up by a tornado, then that's going to be a very low correlation coefficient, and even dust can do that too. So um, it's a very good indicator of if a tornado is on the ground or not. And you can see there's not really any indicator that a tornado is currently on the ground on our correlation coefficient, but you can see that one may drop at any time because of how strong our rotation is. And then we also have a very prominent hook. So again, tornado warning still ongoing for Dodson and Sykes. Again, you want to be making sure you're taking shelter if you live in Dodson or Sykes. Probably won't impact Calvin. It's gonna scoot off to the north of it. But again, it's good to still take precaution. And I'll continue to watch correlation coefficient, but still, there's no signature of it being on the ground. This may be a lowering in the correlation coefficient, maybe trying to touch down right now, but as of right now, there's no clear indicator that it's a definitive touchdown, because this could also be just a contamination. So, but we'll continue to watch that as it develops. But again, still no indicator that's actually on the ground just yet. But you can see the rotation is just continuing to strengthen continuously. That's a very, very powerful mesocyclone there. And again, a tornado could drop by any time. So if you live in Dotson or Sykes, you definitely want to be taking shelter and the necessary precautions for this tornado warning. But we'll just watch the correlation coefficient here for a couple minutes to see what's going to happen with the next radar scan, see if it's going to get lower or if it's just a bunch of contamination. But you can see that mesocyclone is just continuing to strengthen over time. It's really strengthened really quickly. Yeah, okay, so Star and Box on Twitter made a wonderful point about this current setup that's ongoing. Uh, Typically, Dixie setups, especially this one, this is taking a while to really ramp up, and people are already saying it's a bust, and it's barely gotten started. So people are already jumping the gun on if it's really gonna do anything crazy, and it hasn't really even started yet. This was supposed to be a really slow startup, and like models were indicating that storms were just beginning to develop, or at least the enhanced risk storms were just beginning to develop just now around 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. EST. So calling it a bust is a little bit silly because it's barely gotten started. So yeah, Star and Box on Twitter made a really wonderful point about this. but you can see it's continuing to strengthen. Still some fairly strong rotation. Overall correlation coefficient isn't really doing all that much. We can go back a little bit of scans. I really haven't been watching it all that closely, but you can see that there is a little bit of a correlation coefficient drop, but it does seem like it's kind of in a line here. Um, so it may just be contamination. It's not really clear if it's a correlation coefficient drop or not yet. So we're just going to continue to watch that, see if it'll drop even lower or if it'll just pick back up again, see if it's actually just a tornado on the ground or if it's just contamination. We're gonna have to wait and watch that for a couple minutes. But let's check around a little bit. All right, so we have some severe thunderstorms further down to the south. Oh wow, okay. So yeah, so we have a pretty prominent supercell just to the north of Leesville and Simpson. Um, Again, very prominent supercell. This is a very well-defined hook echo here. Very well-defined inflow notch. Oh, and it went away. But you can still see it. It's very well-defined on composite reflectivity and correlation coefficient as well. You can see that inflow notch on both of them. It's a very well-defined hook echo. And you see there's rotation in that with rotation in there as well. So we're gonna have to watch that as well. But I'm going to be focusing on this currently ongoing tornado warning. I think I'm going to switch back to this radar. It's kind of it's kind of hard to tell which one is really the better radar for this. Oh, okay, well, I guess we just lost it with that radar. I'm going to switch down here. Yeah, okay. Um, yeah, it may just be contamination. It's honestly very hard to tell. Yeah. We're gonna continue to watch that supercell down to the south there as well. So okay, well that supercell just went tornado warned. Probably due to the extremely strong rotation on that and how well defined that hook echo is. So that supercell just went tornado warned, and we're gonna continue to watch that over time. But there's currently no correlation coefficient drop that's visible. Let's actually take a look at something really quickly. Um, I just want to take a look at this real quick. With this, we do have 3D volumetric stuff. If I can remember how to, yeah, okay. Alright, volumetric 3D. Yeah, okay. So I'm trying to find that one supercell because I wanted to see it on the volumetric 3D really quickly because it looks like an extremely well defined supercell. I just want to check it out real quick. Yeah, okay, maybe this isn't really the best to look at because you have that slit there from the radar, but it's whatever. It's again still very well defined supercell. We're going to continue to watch that. I don't think there's any correlation coefficient drop just yet. Yep, there's no correlation coefficient drop yet. However, there is hail with this that could potentially be large, so that's another hazard. Um, even if there is currently no tornado on the ground as of right now, it could drop at any time. So you definitely want to be paying attention to that if you live in any of the towns that are included, which doesn't really look like there's any towns, but it is going to be coming up on Interstate 49, and possibly Boise, as well as the Bayou Cypre. I pronounced it absolutely terribly. Community Appalachia Village. Um, those are some places that are in this warning box for the supercell. So you want to be taking a shelter if you are either driving along Interstate 49 or are in that town that I pronounced the name terribly. And then let's go to the north. Let's take a look at that supercell a little bit. Doesn't look like the rotation is really all that prominent as what it was looking like previously. It was better much earlier ago, but uh, that it is dying down. So we're gonna continue to watch that. But I think we're gonna maintain focus more so towards this rapidly organizing supercell. It really got us act together really quickly. So we're just gonna continue to watch that. You see just extremely, very strong, very prominent rotation here as well, but no correlation coefficient drop just yet. But again, this could drop at any time, so I'd suggest um, if you do live in any of the areas that could potentially be affected by this system, such as the community village that I pronounced terribly and Boyce or along Interstate 49, you definitely want to be taking shelter and taking the necessary precautions for this. Again, it's not currently on the ground, but it could drop at any time. Uh, it's a very prominent supercell feature here with very prominent hook echo and very strong and prominent rotation. So again, could drop at any time, even if it's not on the ground just yet. So let's actually take a look at the supercell that's more towards the north really quickly. That's kind of been dying down a little bit, and it does look like it's just gonna continue to do that. It doesn't look like it's really gonna pick back up anymore. It should hopefully continue to die down slowly, but still, it could drop at any time, but the rotation is beginning to die down, so it does look like the correlation coefficient quote unquote drop that we were seeing earlier was mostly contamination. So there probably wasn't a tornado on the ground with that, but it was a very well defined um, or rotation. And now it does look like we have a tornado on the ground. Okay, so notice the correlation coefficient drop, a very well defined correlation coefficient drop with the extremely well defined hook echo and very well defined rotation here, right where the correlation coefficient drop is. Tornado is definitely on the ground with this supercell and is barreling right towards the town that I pronounce absolutely terribly. I really don't want to try to pronounce it again, just for the sake of possibly disrespecting the people that live there. So if you do live there, you definitely want to be taking the necessary precautions, getting to shelter. There is a tornado on the ground, and it's moving directly for it, as well as Interstate 49, possibly Boise. You definitely want to be taking the necessary precautions if you're in any of those areas. Um, Again, tornado on the ground, and it's moving towards those locations previously mentioned. You want to be taking the necessary precautions. Um, Let's see if it's still, yeah, it's still just radar indicated. And there's no, I don't think there's any reports of anyone actually seeing it on the ground just yet. It, so, but again, tornado on the ground. Correlation coefficient did pick back up a little bit. It's not really all that prominent anymore. But it's still there. There's still a tornado on the ground with this very prominent and strong rotation and very prominent hook echo. So again, tornado on the ground, moving towards Bowie, uh, Bow, Bayou Cypre Community Appalachia Village. It is getting increasingly closer with every radar scan. Again, you want to be taking shelter if you live in any of the affected areas. That includes that community village, Interstate 49, and possibly Broyes, and then Colfax may be included in an updated tornado warning if it continues. Again, still tornado on the ground. You can still see that correlation coefficient drop, even if it did pick back up a little bit. Again, you wouldn't be taking shelter. There's a tornado on the ground with this system. Um, Give me just 1 second here. All right. Okay, so again, still very prominent rotation here. It's becoming a little bit of a mess. It may be a little bit more of a multi-vortex tornado because you can see it's quite a bit of a mess. You can see quite a bit of different velocity couplets, and I can point out two of the most prominent ones, which is one right here and one right here. So two very prominent velocity couplets, and then again prominent correlation coefficient drop and a very, very well-defined hook echo. So again, still tornado on the ground, going towards the Bryce the Bowie Cypre Community Appalachia Village. I'm just gonna call it the Community Appalachia Village. Um, as well as Interstate 49. I don't think it's gonna impact Boyce, Boyce, but I'm not gonna jump the gun on that because it could change direction. Um, but again, still correlation coefficient drop. It is lightening up a little bit, so it may be beginning to pick back up a little bit. But still, as far as we can see, it's still on the ground and still very prominent rotation. Probably turning into a multi-vortex tornado based on the amount of little tiny velocity couplets you can see, as well as a extremely well-defined hook echo. So, okay, let's actually take a look at that one tornado that we haven't really been focusing on all that much. Um, Sorry for calling it a tornado. It's not a tornado that's actually on the ground just yet, but it may be one that's developing. Um, there's no indication of it currently being on the ground as of right now, indicated by the correlation coefficient drop. Um, this is all mostly just contamination. There's likely no correlation coefficient drop mixed in, and rotation is still continuing to weaken with that. But again, you can see the how defined that supercell is. That is an extremely well defined storm, and it does look like the rotation has organized back up a little bit here. Still very, very strong and very prominent rotation. I'm not sure what this is. This is probably not anything. This is probably the gap here. Um, so that's probably not a correlation coefficient drop. It does look like it a little bit because of how it's just enclosed in some higher correlation coefficient drop or correlation coefficient indicators, but it's likely just the air gap there between the precipitation. That's probably not a correlation coefficient drop, but you can see it's kind of picked back up a little bit. Um, it doesn't look like there's a tornado on the ground anymore, and that is a big relief because it did almost impact. Um, It. Oh my gosh, how do I get rid of this? It did almost impact the community Appalachia Village. So I'm glad that it picked back up last second and did not impact it head on. However, again, could still recycle. Um, so even if you do live in the community Appalachia Village and you're hearing that the tornado lifted back up, still stay in your shelter as it could drop back down again. It could recycle. Um, but as of right now, there's no indication that it's on the ground, and it's still going to go towards Interstate 49 and possibly shift towards Boise. But that possibility is fairly low, but it's something you definitely want to account for. But again, we'll continue to track this. As of right now, there's no indicator that it's on the ground. But let's take a look at that one tornado warning that's back towards the north. Doesn't really look like anything really changed all that much. Still rotation is still there, but it is a little bit more weaker. No correlation coefficient drop, but you still see that contamination there. Um, but I think we're gonna keep our sights primarily on this tornado, or what used to be a tornado. But you can see still no indicator that it's yeah, still no indicator that it's on the ground. I got confused by that a little bit because it was like a kind of tight and compact little space there of low correlation coefficient. See, so I got kind of worried, but it's probably just that little hole there, and it's probably not associated with any tornado on the ground. Again, as of right now, there's still no indicator that the tornado is on the ground. It was on the ground earlier, but it still could touch back down again. Um, it is passing over the Appalachia Community Village, so hopefully it does not touch back down again. It's still going to go towards Interstate 49 and possibly Boise, but that's a very low potential, but still something you want to account for. Um, but overall, as of right now, it's it's a relief that it did not impact the community Appalachia Village. Um, you guys really dodged a bullet there. And you can see still strong rotation. It does look like we have two most prominent velocity couplets. I'm trying to get rid of that weird thing that pops up when I click anywhere. But you can see it's two very prominent areas of rotation here. Um, you can see it may be shedding it may be shedding a rotation actually. You can see what may be a second developing hook echo off the first one. It may be shedding rotation here, and that gives that the new one a chance to develop into a tornado. So we're gonna watch that one over the next couple of minutes. I really wish I could hear the alert sounds, but I can't for some reason. I'm gonna have to research why I can't do that. Okay, so as far as the tornado, more towards the north, the tornado warning, rotation is pretty much not there anymore. There may be a little bit of weak rotation still left, but I think that I think that tornado warning is going to be left to expire. All right, so we're gonna focus on those two other areas of rotation. With a new with a new reflectivity scan, it does look like it doesn't look like it's going to be shedding rotation anymore. However, it does look like a tornado did touch back down again. Again, as I was mentioning, it did have the chance of recycling, and it does look like it touched back down again. I don't think this is some weird hole in the center of the or between precipitation, because of how yeah, it's right on top our rotation, and it's an observed tornado warning. So there is a tornado on the ground right now. It did touch back down again. It is likely going to impact Interstate 49. Um, I don't see it hitting Boise as all that much of a possibility anymore. But it does look like it's going to impact Interstate 49. So if you are traveling across Interstate 49 and you are coming across, or you do know that you are coming up to, or are currently in the tornado warning that's issued for Interstate 49, you need to be pulling over to the side of the road and getting into a ditch away from your vehicle and covering your head with your hands, and generally just protecting every part of your body in that ditch, um, as that tornado nears Interstate 49. Again, you wouldn't be taking the necessary precautions for that. Again, this is an observed tornado warning, has been confirmed, and it's also been confirmed by radar that there is a tornado currently on the ground, and it's going towards Interstate 49. So we're going to continue to watch that over the next couple of minutes. Hopefully it'll pick back up again, but we're going to have to continue to watch that, because this could potentially be a dangerous situation as it nears Interstate 49. All right, so thank you for joining, whoever just joined. Right now we're currently watching what was a tornado on the ground. It still may be on the ground. As of right now, it's kind of a mess. There's what looks like velocity couplets all over the place. It's fairly contaminated in this area. So that's probably going to lead to a decreased threat for tornadoes, as um, this is extremely unorganized. But it does look like we had a tornado on the ground for a couple minutes. Um, but it does look like it's weakening down a little bit, but we are going to continue to watch that. Again, Interstate 49, you want to be taking shelter if you're driving across Interstate 49 and you know that you're coming up across this tornado warning. Or if you're in that tornado warning, you need to be pulling over to the side of the road and getting into a ditch away from your vehicle, and covering your head with your hands and protecting every part of your body in that ditch. Again, you want to be taking necessary precautions if you know you're driving across Interstate 49 and you are in the path of that tornado that's currently on the ground. Again, this is an observed tornado warning. So that means that someone has seen and reported a tornado. So again, you want to be taking the necessary precautions. This is a confirmed tornado warning by not only people, but also radar as well. So we're probably gonna have to watch this new rotation that's developed over Interstate 49. I'm glad that it did develop past Interstate 49. It didn't have the time to run across it fully. So this may take hold, but it does look like it's kind of just in the center of the storm core there. So it's probably won't really do anything because it's just in the center there. But we'll watch that just to be sure. But again, possibly a tornado still on the ground that has been confirmed. Is that tornado warning up to the north? Yeah, that's still there. Surprise is still there. They're probably just leaving it to expire. I don't really see any reason in keeping it there anymore. But again, we're gonna continue to watch that tornado that's possibly on the ground, as well as that maybe new rotation past Interstate 49. Thank you all for tuning in. Feel free to say hi in the chat if you want, or ask any questions. With the new correlation coefficient radar scan, it doesn't really look like there's anything on the ground as of right now. Uh, this may be a correlation coefficient drop. It's honestly kind of hard to tell because of how like mixed in everything is and how unorganized a lot of this stuff is. And rotation is overall fairly weak, so it may not be correlation coefficient drop, but we'll watch it. Um, does look like that rotation past Interstate 49 may be there to stay, so we're gonna watch that. Even if that is a developing area of rotation, then that's gonna be fairly hazardous because that is an extremely heavy precipitation and will not be able to be seen like hardly at all. So we're gonna have to watch that very closely. But as of right now, there's currently no indication that there's a tornado on the ground. As far as correlation coefficient, we do have a very, very low end correlation coefficient drop. However, this is associated with hail in the area, so don't be alarmed if you see that on the correlation coefficient. That's most likely not a tornado. That's just probably some large hail, which is a hazard. You definitely want to you do not want to be outside when that's falling out of the sky, because it can reach speeds up to 100 miles per hour. So not fun, but it does look like we may be gaining another area of rotation, but overall it's kind of hard to tell because it's like in the smack dab center of the storm core, so it may not be. It does look like this storm is gonna take a little bit of time to try and reorganize because it's not very organized whatsoever. It does look like we may have a couple of like just does look like we have a cluster of like some fairly spread out weaker end supercells with very weak rotation. It's not really, these aren't really all that much of a concern, but we'll probably watch them. Oh yeah, it's not really all that much of a concern. Wow, that tornado warning's still going. Yeah, no really strong indicator of rotation or a developing tornado right now. Everything's like still fair, mostly a mess. It's mostly unorganized, so we're gonna have to watch that. And it's probably gonna take a couple minutes to reorganize. It does look like it's trying to do that with its hook echo. You can see it does look fairly prominent there, so we're just gonna watch that. All right, this is gonna be quite a while. Yeah, I just got a Dr. Pepper from the fridge because I'm been a little sleepy. I spent like I've stayed up till like 4 a.m. last night um studying on something, so and then I had to um wake up at like 8 a.m. to work on something, so it was not fun. So I'm a little bit tired right now. I'm gonna have to like fight to not fall asleep. Doesn't look like the northern tornado warning though is probably just gonna be left to expire. I don't think they're gonna continue that. It's not really a good indicator of a tornado ongoing. And this one may also be left to expire as well. There's not really a good indicator of a tornado currently ongoing. So whenever those do expire, we're probably gonna just move to the next severe weather or severe thunderstorm warning or whatever. And just check around a little bit. It doesn't look as of right now that there's any concerning things. It doesn't look like there's anything really too concerning, but it does look like this may be one of the more concerning systems. But it's gonna need a little bit of time to reorganize. So I got like this new. Um, I've wondered how fridges stay cold. How fridges stay cold. Sorry, it's it, I have like a tiny one right next to me that holds like 6 cans. Um, keeps them cold. It just has like a little fan. I don't really know what's keeping them cold, so it's a little odd to me. But I wouldn't think a fan just blowing at it would keep anything really cold. But yeah, we're just gonna continue to watch this. There is nothing really too concerning outside of maybe that system, that's fairly unorganized. But there may be a couple systems here, maybe a couple areas of rotation that we're gonna have to watch, such as here. here and here. Overall rotation is weak and wouldn't warrant a tornado warning right now, but we should probably try and watch that. But winds are fairly strong as well. We were expected to see some fairly strong damaging winds with this event today, so still going, huh? 4 minutes left. Oh, that confused me. I thought that was something on the screen. Yeah, we're just gonna have to watch this. Yeah, nothing really too crazy right now. Hello, thank you for turning in, whoever that is. Feel free to ask a question in the comments um, or whatever. Feel free to say hi. Kind of just watching this right now. There's nothing really too concerning ongoing. These tornado warnings are likely going to expire. Same with this one up here. This probably not gonna last much longer because there's not really anything that's really indicative of a tornado warning. Well, I guess not actually. Okay, so it does look like they're probably giving it a little bit of extra time because it was an observed tornado warning and there was a confirmed touchdown with this storm. There was a confirmed tornado and it does say observed, even if there's no correlation coefficient drop or nothing really confirming it to be on the ground as far as radar. And rotation is very weak on radar, so they're probably giving it a little bit of extra time. Um, so we're just going to continue to watch that. But you can see it is a very large tornado warning. It's a very, very, very long. But then we also have a weird little system down here. May be absorbed up to the north. Let's see where the path is taken. Yeah, okay. So if it continues the way it's going, if it continues at a speed greater than this mass of rain, um, then this is probably just going to be absorbed into it. It's like a tiny mini supercell. There isn't really anything too great going on with it, so it may be absorbed into this one if it continues at the rate it is. Overall, there's not really anything too crazy concerning. There may be a couple of areas of rotation back towards the west that we're gonna have to watch, but overall, those areas of rotation probably won't warrant a tornado warning. But we are going to continue to watch this because this was extended as an observed tornado warning despite there being very unorganized and very weak rotation and nothing on correlation coefficient. So they're probably just giving it extra time as I was mentioning previously uh, because it was an observed tornado warning. So probably just taking the necessary precautions. But we're going to watch that. It kind of just became a mess after it touched down for the first time. That tornado warning to the north finally expired. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, right now nothing really too concerning that we're trying to watch for, but we'll continue to watch for it. Let's go take a look at some of these other severe thunderstorms. This may become the next threat. It does look like this area in particular of rotation is becoming a little bit stronger over time, and we also have these other areas mixed in. Um, so we're gonna continue to watch that with that severe thunderstorm. And it currently doesn't have a tornado possible signature on it, but they usually issue those for like prominent supercells. They can really see uh, severe thunderstorm that could potentially produce a tornado like very prominently instead of watching it or having it to watch it develop uh, wildly over the next couple or over a couple of minutes. So um, I don't really know how to explain it, but I hope you understood that. We're just going to continue to watch this as well as that. But again, I don't think anything too crazy is going to come out of this. It may be trying to reorganize right now, but as of right now, it doesn't look too great. They probably just extended the tornado warning due to a precaution because it did drop two tornadoes and almost hit a village. Um, so they're probably just extending it as an observed tornado warning, just as a precaution, just in case it may reorganize again, which it might. That's definitely a possibility. It could definitely reorganize again. But this little storm down here may also disrupt it, so we're gonna have to watch this. But it could also add mass to the storm that could be used up, so we're just gonna have to watch it. Yeah, okay. Let's read this really quickly. How much this is a wind threat? All overall, it's just saying it's a wind threat for that little quote unquote mini supercell. But it does look like this system is trying to reorganize. So we're definitely gonna have to watch that very closely. Sorry for anyone that may just be tuning in. I haven't really been talking because there's not really a lot going on. I mean, I can talk about what we're currently looking for, but as of right now, there's not really a lot that's currently ongoing. Uh, we do have the one severe thunderstorm back towards the west, that does have maybe some rotation trying to develop, but not at all close to what would warrant a tornado warning. Um, and then we're just still gonna watch this system here for the threat of a tornado trying to reorganize. Um, it did drop one or two tornadoes. It did drop like two tornadoes earlier and almost hit a village, and then it became extremely unorganized and kind of just broke down. So they may just be extending the tornado warning because it did drop two tornadoes and it was an observed tornado warning earlier. But it does look like they just dropped it down to a radar indicated tornado warning with what seems to be zero rotation backing it up. There is rotation, don't get me wrong, but it's very weak. I wouldn't see why it would indicate a tornado warning. I mean, it may, but I really don't see what they're trying to base this tornado warning off of. It was dropped down to radar indicated. Alright, so as far as rotation, there's a little bit trying to redevelop here on the southwestern side of the massive rain storm. It's a massive supercell right now. With a little bit of rotation trying to redevelop. We're gonna have to watch that because it may be trying to form a hook echo and reorganize to support a threat for a tornado. Um, a tornado is definitely possible with this as of right now. And it looks increasingly more common that, or sorry, it looks increasingly more likely that this tiny little storm right here is probably just going to be absorbed by the much bigger one. It may disrupt the redevelopment process, but it may also just add more mass and more energy to the storm to help it redevelop. It's for the severe thunderstorm that we're kind of just trying to watch off to the side. Nothing really too big is going on with it. There are some spotty areas that may be trying to develop rotation, so we're going to have to watch that. But overall, nothing really too concerning just yet. Same with this one as well. Nothing really too concerning. However, if you do live in the tornado warning, I would just say as a precaution for this, if you live in dry prong, Pollock, or Gina or Jenna, I highly suggest you probably take shelter, um, just as a precaution for this tornado warning. Yeah, okay. So notice how I was mentioning previously, rotation may be trying to develop or redevelop. Velocity is kind of sucky now, but notice how it was kind of flat in some of the previous radar scans. But now look at how it's kind of bulging back out. That is that is definitely trying to reform a hook echo and trying to redevelop a tornado threat. So we're gonna have to watch that. That's gonna be that's kind of becoming a big concern over the next couple of minutes is the fact that it's trying to redevelop a hook echo. So if you live in Dry Prong, Pollock, or Gina slash Jenna, whatever you call it, um, I highly suggest you take shelter as a precaution as this system tries to redevelop. Yeah, I can really see that you can. Sorry, you can really see that rotation trying to redevelop now. You can kind of see it more prominently though. There, it's much stronger even though it's redeveloping even if it is fairly weak, is what I'm trying to say. And it does look like that cell is kind of just gonna merge with it. And so far, nothing really too concerning with the severe thunderstorm warning. Back towards the west, I do have a little bit of weak rotation developing, which we're gonna have to watch. Yeah, okay, so see how I was mentioning previously about the hook echo redeveloping and how it was kind of bulging back out? You can really see that hook echo really trying to redevelop now, as well as the rotation with it. So this thing is just a survivor. This does not want to give up. You can see that rotation there. It's very, very weak so far. Um, but that's what's continuing. It's continuing to develop. It's continuing to develop a hook echo and it's continuing to support a tornado warning. This thing just does not want to stop. And then for the severe thunderstorm warning, that may be a little bit concerning. Back towards the west, there is a little bit of rotation still, but again, it's still not too concerning. But we're still gonna have to watch it. All right, kind of just been sitting here watching this develop. Again, nothing really too concerning going on. It's kind of being a little slow. But as for that severe thunderstorm warning, does look like that area of rotation is beginning to look a little concerning. We might have to focus on that a little bit. I'm gonna try and keep both of them in frame. Alright, I'm getting tired. Alright, so let's actually take a look at some of the other things that are here right now. Um, Not really a lot. Still not really too concerning as far as this tornado warning. We are seeing that rotation continue to redevelop. It does look a little funky, but it is beginning to continue to redevelop. And we're gonna continue to watch that over time. And then as for the severe thunderstorm warning back towards the west, uh, still we have that area of rotation, which is continuing to increase in strength, which we are going to have to watch as that could potentially lead to a threat in the future. So overall, we're just kind of just focusing on both those things. There's not really too much going on with this tornado warning. Um, but we are seeing that storm redevelop and reorganize and gain its hook echo back. So that's really about what we're currently looking for right now. There's not really a lot, again, as I said, going on. Uh, we are gonna continue to watch this hook echo continue to redevelop and the rotation continue to strengthen over time. Um, the places of most concern that could potentially be impacted by this aren't really aren't really that crazy. We may be able to see a tornado warning for Jenna here, as well as possibly Interstate or Road 28. There does look like there may be a little bit of small towns across Road 28 that could be affected, but it's mostly rural. So if you do live in any of the areas that may be affected, you definitely want to be taking shelter as this thing continues to redevelop, and it does look increasingly more prominent. So again, I highly suggest that if you live in any of the affected areas, that you begin to seek shelter as this is going to continue to get more and more prominent as it has over the last couple of minutes with much stronger rotation, fairly good hook echo, but overall no indicator of a tornado currently on the ground. So is there a radar site, better radar site that I can look at? No, it doesn't really look like it. But again, you can continue to see that look increasingly more, or strengthening increasingly more. So, again, that's our primary concern with this is it continuing to reorganize over time. Um, Again, the places of primary concern with this are probably going to be Jenna, um, and some of the rural towns around along Road 28 and possibly Interstate 84, as well as maybe Jonesville. But nothing too crazy of concern. But again, you definitely want to be taking shelter if you live in any of the areas I just previously mentioned. Um, because we are watching this and get increasingly more strong over time. But then we can take a look at that severe thunderstorm warning that we've kind of been looking at somewhat. Still not tornado warned, and it's not warranting a tornado warning anytime soon as of right now. But we are continuing to see that area of rotation slowly strengthen over time, but still not really going to warrant a tornado warning at this time, but we are going to continue to watch that. But our primary thing that we're going to focus on is probably this. Um, One of the other features that we may have to watch for is going to be this second, sorry, that was a terrible circle. This second thing here that's a little protrusion back behind the hook echo, because that may be used to try and recycle a area of rotation, and that may begin rotating and try and take hold. So we're gonna have to watch these two little things here, but overall I think this right here is probably going to be the primary thing that we're going to be watching at or looking at. So thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a or chat or whatever. Feel free to say hi. Not really a lot is going on as of right now, so I wonder what that is. If anyone knows how to read spectrum width, please tell me. I'm kind of concerned, or not really concerned. I kind of don't know how to read spectrum width, but I know how to read these other radar types. But it's just spectrum width that I have trouble with. So if you have like any idea on how to read it, please tell me in the chat so I can figure out what it means. I think it may have to do something with an updraft because of the fact that we have a strong little signature here right below this weak area of rotation. So that's what I think it is at least. But I'm not too sure about that because we have rotation here, which would indicate an updraft, but we don't have anything on spectrum width. So if you do have any clue on how to read spectrum width, please tell me, because I have genuinely no clue on how to read it. But we're just gonna continue to watch this over time. We have had the tornado warning extended because of that area of rotation, and that hook echo as it continues to redevelop. It does look fairly prominent now. Could continue to redevelop. I think it just overall is just. I think it's mostly redeveloped at this point, but it could continue to organize. Um, but yeah, we're just gonna continue to watch this because that's probably the primary concern right now. There's is that fairly strong rotation there. And the areas of concern for this is probably Jenna, um, and any of the areas along Catahoula Lake. Um, there are a couple rural areas here near that lake, so if you do live in any of those rural areas, um, around Road 28 or around Catahoula Lake, you definitely want to be taking shelter as this possibly developing tornado moves inward or moves eastward. Um, It's measured in miles per hour. That's interesting. Uh, yeah, we're just gonna continue to watch this over time as it continues to push eastward. Let's actually take a look at that severe thunderstorm warning. I think it was canceled. I can't find it anymore. Yeah, the rotation. Nope, the rotation's still there. Thought it died out, but we're gonna continue to watch that develop. But yeah, you can really see how prominent that hook echo is becoming. So again, we're definitely gonna have to continue to watch this over time. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat. Wow, a ton of people are going live for this. It's kind of what I expected for this event, but honestly was not expecting like everyone to go live. Have GM Weather going live, got One Nation Weather. Weather Watcher's been live for pretty much the entire day already. Um, let's see who else is live. Reed Timmer, Weather Watcher. Um, Texas Storm Chasers, Storm Chaser Vince Welty. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that right. I hope I did. And then we have One Nation Weather who is preparing to go live, as well as GM Weather who is already live. So yeah, we got quite a few people going live for this, including me. So yeah, feel free to check out any of those channels I just mentioned while we watch this thing develop. While we watch it just kind of slowly reorganize. Let's actually take a look at that area rotation that is kind of becoming a little bit of a concern. If I can find it, it's been hard to find it because of the lack of the severe thunderstorm warning that they had. Does look like that rotation's dying out a little bit. It's not really all that good anymore. So probably gonna continue to see that die out. I don't really think we're gonna see anything too crazy with it anymore. But it was fairly weak to begin with. We didn't really expect anything really too much to come from it, but you know, it's doing what it's doing. Yeah, we're also seeing very large hail with this as well. You can see uh very prominent, or sorry, very large hail there. With DBZ getting up to what seems to be like 72. Yeah, that's some pretty large hail. I wonder if there has been any recorded just 70 dBz of just rain, no hail, just extremely heavy rain. There might have, but if you guys have any idea what I'm talking about, please let me know. That'd be interesting to see on radar. Oh, we had just had a extremely big severe thunderstorm warning just issued because of the sheer size of that supercell. And you see just like the hook echo is also pretty big as well, so this thing's been going on for quite a while. Dropped 2 tornadoes previously and is continuing to go. Sorry, we lost connection to the stream real quick. But we're back now, so it does look like the primary tornado though is probably going to be shifting over to Mississippi soon with some leftover tornadic development back in Louisiana with some of these. Oh, okay. So if you're seeing all of this correlation coefficient drop right here, that's because there's an absence of everything there. So it's not that there's a low correlation coefficient, it's just that there's nothing there. So it's just being picked up as a low correlation coefficient. So don't be alarmed when you're seeing that. Um, Again, we do have extremely strong rotation here. Um, but we still don't have a confirmed tornado on the ground just yet. We don't have any correlation coefficient drop that would indicate a tornado being on the ground as of right now. But it does make it a little bit hard to see if that would actually be true or not, because of a little bit because of like the amount of contamination that we have from hail and whatnot. So it does make it a little bit hard to see if there is a correlation coefficient drop or not, but there probably isn't. But we do have still very strong rotation, and a tornado could drop at any time for the system. And it does look like the place that is probably going to be in most concern. It's probably Jonesville. It does look like Jonesville should maybe in a tornado warning whenever if it is updated, which it probably will be based on how strong the rotation is. It does look like we may also have a little bit of rotation trying to develop in some areas, but it's very, very weak back towards the west. This thing kind of just took hold of everything. Oh yeah, now that rotation is looking much less prominent. Overall, I will say that it does look like the severe thunderstorm threat that we were expected to see today has kind of it wasn't really as big as what the models were really putting it out there to be, or what the SPC was really saying. It's kind of a little bit lower, it's kind of a little bit leaning on a little bit more of the lower side, but we're still here to cover it. Hello, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. We're kind of just watching this here slowly develop. Um, Rotation is on more of a weakening trend, so it's not really doing too much. Again, it's a little bit more on a weakening trend, probably due to this. This right there is probably a huge factor that's playing into it. And that's probably disrupting the flow a little bit and making it less organized than what it really needs to be to really support some strong rotation. And overall, just rotation is dying down. There's still rotation, by the way. There's nothing really indicating that there's currently a tornado on the ground. Still, the severe thunderstorm warning does have a tornado possible signature on it, as you would have thought. Um, there's still rotation. It's not really all that great as it was a couple radar scans back, but it is still there, and it still could produce a tornado. As of right now, it's kind of hard to tell if there would be correlation coefficient drop or not because of how contaminated everything is. If you're seeing this and thinking maybe a correlation coefficient drop is not, just a little gap here, it's kind of just been clearing up. And because of these two rain or this rain cell merging with this much bigger severe thunderstorm, that's going to be disrupting our rotation a little bit. That's going to make it a little bit harder for rotation to keep going. So it's going to be weakening it down a little bit, but still could produce it could still produce a tornado. And it's good to take necessary precaution if you live in any of the affected areas that could potentially be impacted by this. As of right now, it looks like the areas that may be impacted may be Jonesville or Harrisonburg. So those are the two primary locations that may be impacted by this system. The two primary locations may be included in the next tornado warning in the two primary locations where you probably should be taking shelter. Yeah, we're just gonna continue to watch this over time. Um, Still rotation, could drop a tornado at any time as of right now. If it were to drop a tornado, it would likely be extremely rain wrapped because of how much precipitation is around the mesocyclone. So it would be a very dangerous situation if that were to drop a tornado. And we're kind of getting further and further away from a radar site, and I don't know where we would switch to. We're getting further and further away. It's making it lower and lower quality, but it's still alright. Still alright quality. Do have this severe thunderstorm. Does look like it may have a little bit of weak rotation trying to develop, but overall it's nothing really too crazy. But we'll still watch that just to be sure. But the primary concern is probably going to be this little system that's kind of becoming disorganized. So we're just gonna continue to watch that. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, uh, please ask them in the chat or just feel free to say hi. Still watching this. I'm surprised they haven't already I'm surprised they haven't renewed the tornado warning to be longer because now the mesocyclone would be outside the tornado warning. They may be just letting it expire because of it being becoming disorganized because of that rain cell merger. But also I'm thinking that the rotation that you're seeing here maybe a little bit of contamination. I've been thinking about that for like the last couple minutes. Um, Notice how close proximity it is to a large area of hail. So it may be a little bit of contamination from hail. But honestly, it's kind of hard to tell. So that may be why they're not continuing the tornado warning. But we'll still watch and see. Doesn't look like we have a flash flood warning though, so that is something to be watching out for. We've had tons of rain um, in this area, so if you do live in any low-lying areas, flash flooding is a threat for today. Even though the threat is fairly low and fairly marginal, there is still a threat for flash flooding. Is still something to watch out for. And then we're probably also going to watch this severe thunderstorm as well. This is probably going to be the secondary threat as far as tornadoes. Um, you can see that we do have a little bit of rotation there. It is fairly weak. It's not going to warrant a tornado warning right now, but it may continue to develop over time. But overall, we'll just see if that tornado warning is continued, but I think it's probably going to be more on a downward trend. Hey, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or you would like to just say hi, please feel free to uh, ask in the chat. Yeah, so they did push the tornado watch back into Mississippi. That's probably going to be the new concern as far as the threat of tornadoes as this line of storms pushes eastward. Overnight, I probably won't do a live stream for too long, but as that pushes into Mississippi, that they did continue that tornado watch, so that's something to be watching out for. And that there's going to be a more continued threat for tornadoes into Mississippi overnight. So that's a big thing that you want to be watching out for if you live in any of the affected areas. Yeah, so that tornado warning was just canceled. But we still have that severe thunderstorm warning and tornado possible signature on that. The rotation did die down. It probably was a little bit of contamination from hail, so shouldn't really see all that much of a huge threat from tornado or of tornadoes from that. But still, the severe thunderstorm warning does have a tornado possible signature on that, so that is something to keep note of. Um, I think we're going to be primarily focusing on this cell down here now, which you can see does have a fairly prominent hook echo with a very prominent inflow notch. It's a little bit disorganized, but you can see it is trying to develop maybe some weak rotation. So we're going to watch that. Overall, I'm gonna be honest, the threat for tornadoes today did seem much higher than what is currently ongoing. Of course, we did see that one supercell that did drop two tornadoes. However, this does feel like more of like a 7% chance for tornadoes with a hatched risk uh than a or maybe drop the hatch risk even. It feels like more instead of a 10% with the hatch risk. It seemed more of like a 6% or 7% to 8% of tornado threat with that may not be hatched. Despite how good the atmosphere was set up, um, it did promise, but it did promise. It delivered a little bit, but didn't really deliver like it was forecasted to. But we did get that one tornado. We got two tornadoes actually from that storm, so it wasn't a tornado-less day. It wasn't a complete bust, but we did get something. And we may still continue to see something into Mississippi overnight. All right, well, I'm gonna keep I'm gonna pull up the stay tuned screen real quick. I'm gonna go get something to eat. I am hungry. Actually, hold on. I, I may end the live stream here. It's honestly been a very long day for me. I spent like I was up till like 4 a.m. last night. And I was extremely tired in the beginning half this today, and yeah, I'm overall just like worn out from today. So I may just end the live stream here. It it was good covering this. I did had fun. Overall, my final thoughts on this event, with it still ongoing. probably going to be on a little bit more of a downward trend over the next couple of hours as the sun begins to set. Um, but again, my final thoughts are I don't really think the atmosphere really delivered as what it was forecasted to. Um, it was a it did look like it was a very good setup though, nonetheless. We got our instability, we had the moisture, we had the directional shear. It overall looked like a fairly good setup and would support some violent or some strong tornadoes in some regions. Um, but overall, it didn't really seem like it was all that much of as big of a threat as what the SBC was making out to be. 10% with a hash risk, honestly, to me, felt more like again, I said this previously, like an anywhere from a 6% to possibly an 8% with maybe a hatched risk. But that doesn't mean that we didn't see anything today. We definitely saw something. We got two tornadoes from the same supercell and still maybe some leftover tornadic development that may still be trying to develop in the form of this supercell right here, as well as possibly this. So I may keep the live stream on a little bit longer to watch these, but I definitely need to get something to eat. So what I'll do is I'll just put on the stay tuned screen real quick, and I'll be back. All right, so I've made my decision. I'm probably gonna be ending the stream here. I do want to thank anyone that has tuned in so far and showed their support. Um, uh, Overall, there's not really a lot going on. Again, I already told you my final statement about what's going on or what I thought of this severe weather threat. We still could see some tornadic development later on. However, I kind of have to do something right now. I'm hungry, I'm worn out. So today is not really the best day for live streaming for me. But I did have fun. It wasn't fruitless. We definitely got those two tornadoes. And again, I just want to thank everyone that tuned in. So I'm probably gonna shut off the live stream here. So this was Project Gladiator, and I hope you guys stay safe.